10 Most Disturbing True Cruise Ship Horror Stories. Untold Fears. Intro. Narrator's tone. Dark, suspenseful. The open ocean. It looks calm, endless, and inviting. Cruise ships are often seen as floating cities of joy, filled with music, laughter, and luxury. But what happens when the waves turn sinister, when the isolation of the sea hides horrors nobody wants to talk about? Tonight, we'll journey into the shadows of the ocean with 10 of the most disturbing true cruise ship horror stories. These tales are not of pirates or ghost ships, they are real-life nightmares at sea. So, tighten your life jacket, because once you step on board, there's no escape. Story 1. The Vanishing Passenger. In 2013, a young woman named Rebecca boarded a Mediterranean cruise ship for a vacation with her friends. Everything seemed perfect. Fine dining, music under the stars, and the slow rocking of the waves. But on the third night, she never returned to her cabin. Security footage revealed her walking alone on deck near midnight, then she vanished. No one ever saw her again. Her shoes were later found neatly placed near the railing, but there was no sign of a fall, no splash heard, and no body recovered. Crew members whispered rumors, some believed she was pushed. Others claimed she was taken below deck by someone who knew the ship better than passengers did. To this day, her family still searches for answers. Story 2. The Haunted Cabin. Cruise ships often recycle their cabins, and passengers don't always know the dark histories behind them. A couple on a Caribbean cruise once complained about strange activity in their room. Lights flickered on and off, faucets ran by themselves, and they swore they could hear whispering in the night. On the third evening, the wife woke to find a soaking wet woman standing at the end of the bed, dripping seawater. When she screamed, the figure vanished. When they asked the crew, the staff exchanged nervous looks. Finally, a steward admitted, 2 years earlier, a woman had drowned after leaping from that very cabin's balcony. The room had since been cleaned and resold countless times, but some guests never stayed more than one night. Story 3. The Locked Door Below Deck. A retired sailor recalled working on a cruise liner in the 1980s. He and his fellow crew members always avoided a certain steel door below deck. It was bolted shut, rusted, and unmarked, unlike all the other utility doors. One night, out of curiosity, he pressed his ear against it. He swore he heard scratching, from the inside. When he asked his supervisor, the man grew pale and warned him never to return there. Later, an older deckhand told him the truth. Years earlier, a worker had been accidentally sealed inside during construction. His body was never removed. They simply welded the door shut, and built the ship around it. Story 4. The Man Who Walked Off. In 2009, security footage captured a chilling moment, a middle-aged man strolling calmly across the deck at 2 a.m. Without hesitation, he stepped onto the railing, looked back once, and disappeared into the waves. The next morning, passengers were told he had fallen overboard. But when family reviewed the footage later, they noticed something deeply unsettling. Just before he leapt, he seemed to be looking at someone who wasn't there. His lips moved as if in conversation, with an invisible companion. Story 5. The Stench in the Vents. On a luxury cruise to Alaska, passengers began complaining of a foul odor spreading through several hallways. At first, the crew blamed plumbing. But when the smell grew unbearable, engineers inspected the air vents. What they found shocked everyone: a decomposing body wedged deep inside the ventilation shaft. It was a missing crew member who had vanished weeks earlier. Theories spread quickly. Was it suicide, or had someone forced him there? To this day, no one knows how he ended up hidden in the guts of the ship, circulating his final stench into the luxury suites above. Story 6. The Elevator Incident. On a stormy night in 2015, passengers waiting for the elevator heard a loud grinding noise followed by screams. The doors opened to reveal a horrific scene: a crew member trapped between the moving elevator car and the shaft wall. He had been crushed alive while performing maintenance. Witnesses said the floor and walls were splattered with blood. The company quietly compensated passengers for trauma but tried to erase all news of the event. Yet survivors still recall the sound, the wet crunch of bones echoing through the steel shaft. Story 7. The Phantom Passenger List. One captain told a story he never forgot. Every voyage, the ship's manifest had one extra name, a passenger who never checked in, never ate meals, never appeared in photos, yet was always marked, present. On his 10th voyage, a steward swore he saw her, a pale woman standing at the railing in an old-fashioned dress. When he rushed closer, she disappeared. Some believe she was the spirit of a woman lost when the ship's older sister vessel sank decades earlier, her name forever trapped in the system. Story 8. The Blood in the Pool. A family cruise turned nightmare when children playing in the pool began screaming. Red liquid was rising to the surface. At first, parents thought it was a prank, but then a body floated upward. It was a missing bartender, throat slashed, stuffed beneath the grate. Panic erupted as security cleared the deck. To this day, the murder has never been solved. Some believe it was a crew dispute. Others whisper that the killer still works the seas, moving from ship to ship, blending in among the nameless staff. Story 9. The Storm That Never Ended. Passengers on a transatlantic voyage in the 1970s recalled sailing into a fierce storm. Waves towered like mountains, and the ship groaned as if about to break. But when they awoke the next day, the storm hadn't passed. The skies stayed black, lightning flashed endlessly, and compasses spun uselessly. For 3 full days, they were trapped in what survivors called a hole in the ocean. Some swore they saw ghostly ships riding the same storm, vessels long sunk, their crews staring with hollow eyes. Then, as suddenly as it began, the storm ended, leaving only silence. The captain refused to speak of it again. Story 10. The Final Announcement. On a luxury liner in the early 2000s, passengers were awoken at 3 a.m. by an announcement over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking." Abandon ship immediately. Panic erupted. Families rushed to lifeboats, only to find them still tied and unused. Crew members were confused. They said no announcement had been made. When they checked the bridge recordings, the intercom hadn't been activated. Passengers described the voice as calm, almost soothing, but undeniably real. Some later connected it to a tragedy years earlier, when another vessel in the same waters sank after its captain gave the exact same order. Was it a warning echo from the past, or a premonition of what's to come? Outro. Narrator's closing tone. Dark, lingering. Cruise ships promise paradise, but at sea, paradise can quickly become prison. These stories remind us that when you're miles from land, surrounded by endless water, anything can happen. People vanish, storms never end, and sometimes, the past refuses to let go. So next time you step onto a cruise ship, ask yourself, do you really know what's waiting on the other side of the ocean? This has been Untold Fears. 10 disturbing true cruise ship horror stories. Sleep tight, and maybe keep both feet on solid ground.